Actually good. It's actually good and useful for me. Yeah. It's all muted. We are live. All right. All right. We are live on YouTube. Very good. Very, very good. So we'll be getting started in just a couple of seconds while I press the button on Facebook, and I'll be here too. So hope people will be joining me, and I hope you can all hear me. I'm pretty sure you can. Welcome to Satsang. Nick's watching now. Very good. Anybody who's watching on YouTube, please just type something in the chat. Say hello. Say where you're from. Just so I know people are here and I'm actually being seen. I'm going to do the same thing now on Facebook as we get started. And there we go. Now, all right, we are live on Facebook, although nobody has joined there yet. So I'm going to go and just check over here just in case I get questions so I can see what's happening. Very good. So now I'm live here and live on YouTube and just kind of live. It's alive. All right, very good. Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. I'm going to just jump right in because there's no sense in waiting. There's so many people that watch this after the fact. The idea of waiting, until people start showing up doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So when you do come, please just type something in chat so I know you're here, both on YouTube and on Facebook. Hopefully you can all hear me. I've kind of got a makeshift system here today because I'm traveling. I'm actually in Seattle right now, visiting my son and his wife and my granddaughter, who's just a little over 1. So I'm doing it now at a different time, which is totally strange for me. It's like 1 in the afternoon here. I'm so used to doing it late in the afternoon, and you'll probably notice that the environment behind me is different. So as always, I welcome your questions at any time during the satsang. The more questions I get, the longer it goes. The fewer questions I get, the shorter it goes. I always have a little something to speak about in the first place. But it's always great to just see people. So we got Judy from Florida. Pam is from the UK. And that's all, folks, from Holland, which is the Netherlands, which I love. I've been to Amsterdam once, and it was just one of the most amazing experiences of my life. It's just it's an amazing country, and it's an amazing city. And let's see, I've got people on YouTube, but I don't see anybody actually. It's not showing me people who are joining, so I can't actually see who you are. Looks like it's a good picture on YouTube as I check over here for the deal. So there were 4 and now they're gone, back to 2. So let me get into the meat of it today for everyone who's here. And as I mentioned before, by all means, please type in any questions you have about just pretty much anything. Right? Anything has to do with spirituality and its import in your life and the spiritual inquiry. Obviously, I know somebody, Chrissy from New Zealand, all over the world. It's so great. So obviously, this is primarily the outlet I have for focusing on non-duality. And many know me from very different aspects because of all the things that I've done in my life. I have a whole bunch of different ways of teaching and a bunch of different techniques I teach. The umbrella technique is inner reconciliation, which is kind of what I pulled it all together. Is I've taught meditation for decades. I think it's probably going on 10 years now with EFT. I've taught non-dual inquiry. I've taught all sorts of things about metaphysics and manifestation and law of attraction. I've taught people how to be a coach, how to be healers, a lot of different stuff. And over the last 5-6 years, it all just kind of congealed into the teaching on inner reconciliation, which really brings them all together. Separate from that, they all tend to be, what's the word? They're over the decades that I have been in doing this, 40 plus years, there was always something missing from whatever it was I looked into. Every particular religion I looked to, every spiritual tradition, all the forms of meditation, something was missing. And it could have been me. I grew up a very rebellious kid, and maybe I just didn't want to actually devote myself or surrender myself to anything. But it seems to have served in the long run, because I began to see a thread that runs through all things. And that thread is twofold, which is, I'm getting to my subject here of ego and the Tower of Babel. Hi, Meryl from Queensland, Australia. Another hi from Norway. This is just so mind-blowing. I mean, of everybody on the list here, one person appears to be from the US. I'm working my way around to it, but there's two really, really important threads. The one thread was a discovery of this great sense of oneness, this great sense of non-dual existence, of being more than the body, of being more than your conditioning, more than your thoughts and your feelings and your sensations, more than what you're doing in life, more than your relationships, more than your career, more than everything, that you were way more than that, always have been and always will be. There's another thread to it, which is not as often talked about. Well, they're rarely talked about together, except in a few places with just a handful of spiritual teachers. And that is, while the true you, the reality of who you are, and whatever experience you've had of that, it may have been, it may have had a mind-blowing experience, and it may have been very subtle, very slight. But something would have touched your heart, had to have touched your heart, in order to even be on the spiritual journey, to even be considering going on a spiritual journey. I mean, there's no way you do that because it's a little interesting, right? Because it gets kind of demanding. But who you are is discovered. You don't become who you are, right? You discover who you are. You find that the truth has always been true, and that we have misperceived the truth. And the heart and soul of that misperception is the false idea of who we think we are. Now, the modern term for that is ego. But there's so much more to it than the way it's normally described. I really personally love the term that Mooji uses, which is simply the person. I'm gonna, where are you? Oh, there it is. The lights keep dimming over here, and I know I kind of need that light. It's from a computer screen. Otherwise, it gets too dark with the backlit. He uses the term the person you believe yourself to be. When we're very young, children, and this is true of animals too, they don't have a sense of being somebody, right? Their experience of life, their experience of existence is completely undifferentiated. I've spent some time here with, hello, Laura, namaste, and Anne is watching. I spent some time now with my granddaughter. I've been here for a few days, and I was here about 3 months ago. and just kind of watching her. And it's just so amazing to see how emotional states don't stick. Right? You can just watch emotions passing through her face. You know, she's one, right? she hasn't been conditioned into being somebody yet, right? She's just beginning to walk, right? She's just taking these little steps. There's no cognition, there's no intellectual activity. It's pure experience. It's pure response. Hello, Helen from Spain, but in English. Very good. And just to watch how, you know, she'll go from crying to laughing to smiling to demanding food to all sorts of stuff in instants. Nothing sticks. The reason nothing sticks is because there's no person there yet. There's no ego there yet. There's no sense of a independently functioning self. There's no sense of even having a body. I mean, there's just experience, right? And that's so difficult for us in our adult minds to understand, that this idea of experiencing life is not having a body. But that is how we all start out, right? The idea of a body, the solidity of a body, the meaning of a body, and our sense identifying ourselves as a body comes much, much later. This sense of I am the body is what eventually forms into the sense of I am this person, which is a mental image. It is a construction of the mind that has you now outlined, limited, associated with certain qualities, not associated with others. The first big division, the first major division that happens is I'm a boy, I'm a girl. Then it becomes I'm white, I'm black, I'm Asian, I am this religion, I am this political affiliate. All of these things begin to compound, and all of them create a sense of a me. But this me is only in your mind. This me doesn't actually exist as a real thing other than the mind, but we are so convinced of it. How many people could you say to, you're not your body? And they go, what are you talking about? They may have some that are like, I'm a soul in the body, right? And so then I can leave the body. Joanna, oh, Sylvie from France, Joanna from Mexico. Wow, this is extraordinary. I get so excited about it. Just the whole, wow, the world. Okay. Where was I? Ah, yes. We are so used to just, when you say the word I, what are you referring to? This is such a powerful inquiry. Well, I'm referring to me. Well, that me, we say it with such aplomb, right? Just such, oh yeah, well, I'm just referring to me. I say, okay, if you're just referring to me, or is that clear? Tell me who me is. Tell me what me is. If you do it right now, you're going to find, if you trace back the I, all of the I's that you've been talking about, you'll see that it's related to your beliefs, your experiences, your history, your memories, your conditioning. It'll be related to your body, your gender, your firm convictions, religious convictions, political, economic, nationalities. That's what the I is constantly referring to, but none of that's original. Ultimately, it gets down to the fundamental belief that lies underneath all of them, and that is, I am the body. Now, if any of you have ever studied any kind of spirituality, some real spirituality, not the religious dilutions of it, this idea that you're not your body is very prevalent. You see it all over the place, but most have no idea what that means. Dropping your body, transcending the body, going beyond the body. There's danger in that, but I'll get to that later. When I believe myself to be the body, right, I immediately constrain myself within the context of my body. If I never challenge that belief, if I never say, is that actually true? I will live this out for all of my life. Those boundaries They will change, they will expand, they will contract, but they will never go away. And in fact, that belief is so powerful that when this body falls away and you find yourself without one, you'll make another one. Because the belief is so strong. You can't fathom existing without a form. But when I say, but how many times you say my body? Well, who's the my? Who is aware of this body? Now I'm going right for the juggler here. I'm not messing around. I'm going to get to some other sides of it. Man, you can get to the Tower of Babel, which started this whole thing. But this really has got me going now because it is just so powerful. Who is it that is saying, I have a body? Who is it that is aware of conditioning? Who is it that's aware of thoughts? I mean, really, who's hearing my voice right now? Is it the body? Okay, what part of the body? Is it the skin that's hearing me? Right? Is it the ear that's collecting the sound? Is it the eardrum that's vibrating in harmony with it, in sympathy with it, right? Is it the auditory nerves, right, that are converting, or whatever it is that converts it into an electronic impulse that gets carried through the auditory nerves? Have any of those things actually heard me? They've actually monitored it, registered it. Say, oh yeah, no, it's very true. Like this, this microphone I have here that I'm speaking into to you, has it heard anything I've said? Now it goes through parts of the brain, associations are made, all sorts of things are happening inside the brain. But what's hearing it? Is the brain hearing it? Now, if you're a neurologist or you're really materialistic, you're going to say, yes, it's the brain. It's some functioning in the brain, and I have a sense of I. I'm not going to try to take that all apart right now, but I'm going to ask you to just go to your own direct experience, what you are actually experiencing in this moment. And you've been told, and you believe that this is a brain that's hearing, but is it? Is all of the stuff going on, little impulses and electrons and all the stuff that's flying around in there, is it hearing me any more than this ear is, or the eardrum is, or this microphone is? Well, then what is? Where does the buck stop? Now we have a name for it. We call it consciousness. That I'm aware, which is pretty miraculous, right? When you think about it, this does not appear to be aware, self-aware. It doesn't appear to be that way, but I'm aware of it. My eardrum is not aware of me, but I'm aware of it. Is it, and the leading theory is, the assumption is, the presumption is, that it is some kind of incredibly remarkable magic coming together, condensation of complexity of matter that has given rise to consciousness. And yet, all of that, everything I just said, the entire line of causation, going back as far as you want to go, is all being perceived by, and in fact created by, consciousness. Consciousness is the only experience you ever have. It's the only experience you ever will have. Will you ever have an experience outside of consciousness? I mean, think about it for a second. Can you experience something outside of you experiencing it? I just so invite people to explore this. Hello, Beth. Beth Donley Feller. Wonderful, wonderful. Glad to see you. I implore people to explore this and not just assume that the leading materialistic theories about the nature of consciousness and life and experience are true. Because in my experience, they're not. I never experience a material world. I only experience my perception of things. Hello, Angela. Wonderful to have you. Angela Maria Gaviria Restrepo. Oh my goodness. I tried. So when I look at myself from my experience, when I throw out everything I know, all assumptions, right? All of it. I don't care what it is. I'm throwing it. In Buddhism, they call it the great doubt. You just doubt everything, right? So yes, this is what most people believe about it. This is the leading opinion about it. These are the leading ideas. This is what everybody believes. This is what everybody talks about. Fine. I'm throwing it all out. I'm looking only at my own experience. Now that's amazing in and of itself, because most of us have been taught not to trust our experience, that we trust some authority, whether that be a scientific authority, a political figure, an economic, a brilliant guy, even though they continue to crash the economy, we're supposed to still believe them, a religious leader, or even a guru, right? No matter what they say, no matter we have been told that we're supposed to believe them over us, and yet all I ever experience is me. All I ever experience is this consciousness. Even the gurus and the leaders and the economists, all of them only appear to me. The whole vehicle of my experience and the entire landscape of my experience is nothing but consciousness. Anita Sanchez, oh, so wonderful to have you here. Oh, that's great. I love her. So nothing I experience happens outside of consciousness. I imagine a world outside of consciousness. I describe that world. I talk about that world. I can say all sorts of things about that world, about this body. And yet I cannot, no one can step outside their own conscious experience and validate the existence of a world independent from your perceptions of it. I invite you to try to do that right now. The first time this dawned on me, I was 17 years old. It was just this spontaneous samadhi I fell into. And I, for the life of me, could not find proof that what I was experiencing as the world existed independently of my perception of it. And it completely changed me. At first, it was very difficult, because the first thing it did is it broke me open, and all of the horrible stuff, the anger and the rage and the fear and the guilt and the tumultuous, very unpleasant childhood I had. I mean, all of the things that my little sense of identity had kept intact. So they were nice and suppressed, and I was relatively functional, all started to disappear. And within 2 years, I went from that revelation down to just wanting to end it. I was just so dark and horrible. Life just really sucked. And then the next installment of the awakening began to take place. So it is very powerful. It's the essence of non-dual inquiry. It is not, bless their hearts, the Advaita teachers that say, well, there is no you and there's no person and you're not real and all of that, nothing exists, is like, in Zen, those are the guys who get the Zen stick upside their head, right? Because it's all on the mind. What I'm asking you is not in the mind. It's I'm asking you to look at something, not think about something. I'm asking you to look at, I don't ask you to, to take my word for the existence of this little child's toy. I go, look for yourself, right? And actually look and find out how much of what you believe is absolutely true about the world has been taught to you and you've been believing it, and say, is it really true? This is the real meat and courage of the spiritual path. It is, the spiritual path is not practice. It's not sitting on a cushion 2 hours a day. It's not going to a monastery. It's not heading up to the mountains. It's not any of those things. It's not austerities. Believe me, I did those for years. It is not deprivation. It is not renunciation. It is this inquiry. This inquiry is the most direct path to the true awakening to who you are. And it's been gone for a long time. I mean, it comes and goes. I mean, it was kind of resurrected. It was gone for a while, and I think it was about 1,000 years. I think that's about right. Shankara revised brought the entire thing back, the whole non-dual, vain, that pass through the Hindu religion, Hindu theology, and Hindu spirituality, which has always been very deep and powerful. And it kind of faded out again, and it came back. I mean, there's always been this little thread, but it really kind of sprung on the world with Ramana Maharshi, which is many, many people know about it. And now Muji, who's my teacher, who is now is undoubtedly the most documented sage in all of time, with thousands of things on YouTube. I mean, he's just like, I mean, that message is like spreading like this completely different approach is spreading like wildfire, and it's wildflowers. Yeah, that's better than wildfire. Wildflowers. The inquiry is direct. It's not intellectual. And there's another beautiful thing that happens after that awakening takes place, after you begin to see through it, right? And really, all you can do, I can't give you, I say, well, here it is. Here is the truth, right? I can't do that, because if I did, it's just another thought. It's another theology. It's another ideology. It's another point of view. It's another idea that I want you to believe to be true. And, you know, then I become the guru, and I wear orange robes and, you know, do whatever they do, right? It isn't that. And it's beautiful. In Hindu tradition, they have a thing called neti neti, which is not this, not this, where it's also came in Buddhism, the four possibilities, neither this, nor that, nor both, nor neither. The process is such you so completely eliminate everywhere you have been resting your mind, thinking that, oh, that's the truth. And you say, well, wait a minute, it's only the truth because I believe it to be the truth. And you keep taking, in Zen, they call it taking that step backwards, until finally there's nothing left except you. The pure, unbridled, unfiltered, unbuffered, originally innocent, pure you, without any thoughts whatsoever. So, I mean, do you need a thought? Do you need to think about you in order to exist, to be? I mean, obviously not, because you have to be there first in order to think the thought. So before you had any thoughts, before you had any feelings, before you had any conditioning, right? Before this body, who were you? This is not an arbitrary or a philosophical inquiry. This is an inquiry into the nature of being itself. And it's done in such a way that if you challenge the idea that you're not this body, then you were here before the body. The body appeared to you. You didn't appear in it. It appeared within this consciousness that you are. So what is that without the body? Who are you without the body? In Zen, they have a beautiful koan that say, who were you before your parents were born? They oftentimes refer to that as your original face. Who were you before your parents were born? This inquiry is so significant and so powerful. It just takes the double-edged sword of truth right through everything we've believed in. And you're left with no beliefs, which is very unsettling to the person. Bonnie K is watching. Hello, Bonnie. Welcome. Mad Stork saying it's an ontological inquiry. Yes, it's ontological and cosmological. And it is the question of existence itself. Because obviously everything comes from there, right? And we can talk about, okay, I exist. Of course I exist, but I need a new car, right? Or I need a job or something like that. And it can very easily become commandeered into how does this make my life better? Which I will address. But I mean, I get to it today, but it can be addressed, but it isn't primary. See, if that conversation, okay, well, I've got this great insight now. How does that help my life? How do I manifest the things I want? How do I make things happen and all of that? If that happens too quickly, if you go into that too fast, you've really just become distracted from the essential insight that makes all of those questions irrelevant. You don't need that inquiry, right? Because everything is going to be, you see, everything is flowing directly from this being. Because what could possibly happen except it arises out of being itself? And I'm speaking about it as if it's a thing, right? But it's not a thing, it's you, right? Do you or do you not be? Right? I mean, that's what's so amazing about it. We can't point to it and say, oh, there it is. There it is over there. You know, religion tried to do that and made God over there. Spirituality says, well, God isn't over there. God is being. The great I am. The sense I am is the ultimate. And it's so simple. And it's right here. And it's you and me. And you're experiencing it right now. And that is what's hearing my words. Isn't it consciousness? That consciousness, which you have mistaken to be this body, this gender, this person, this set of beliefs, this set of conditioning, is being. That is the beingness. I mean, I say it 1,000 different ways, and I just keep saying the same thing. In fact, probably for the last 20 years, I've only been saying this one thing over and over and over and over again. How can you possibly understand the world until you first understand the eyes through which the world is being seen? I mean, world is there. If I've got on, colored glasses, I'm going to see everything's going to amplify that color. I'm going to think I'm seeing the world when in fact I'm not. Until I know the eyes, the lens through which I'm seeing, I don't actually know what I'm seeing. So I'll ask somebody, well, what do you want to do with your life? What is it that you want? What matters the most to you? Some will say, I don't know. Some will say, oh, I know what I want. The ones that say, I don't know, I will say, well, then what don't you want? Yeah, I'm sure you know what you don't want. Well, yeah, I don't want any more of this. I don't want any more of this. Okay. We say this, right? You say it with convictions, and then very deep conviction. Yeah, I don't want that. I want this. Now I ask, okay, to say that with such conviction that I really don't want this, and then you must know who you are, because otherwise you couldn't possibly. How could you say that? If you didn't know who you are, how could you say, I want that? Okay, who's the I? Tell me about that I. And then suddenly something happens. The attention gets turned back on itself. That's what meditation is. That's what the spiritual inquiry is. To take the attention that's been focused out here this whole time and start turning it back inside. Turning it back towards finding that place where it has been being perceived. Beautiful phrase. You've all probably heard me say it before. I'll say it again because it's one of my favorite quotes from all time, from St. Francis of Assisi, who said, what you are looking for is where you are looking from. Now, where you are looking from can't really be seen, can it? I mean, you can't step outside yourself and turn back. Oh, there I am. You can't do that, right? The point, that infinitesimally at infinite point from which it is all being perceived, can't be perceived. It is imperceivable. It can't be known. It can only know itself. It can only be deeply aware of its own existence. Oh, Grundelgende. Oh, I'm sorry, I just butchered your name. From Germany. Hello. David Bash, my good friend, San Francisco. Welcome. So glad to have you. So I'd love to entertain some questions about that. I do have one question here, and I had a question that actually got me to name this Ego, the Tower of Babel, but I'm not sure I'm going to get to that now because this just kind of swept me away, because it's the essence of the whole thing. And if this can even be approached by you, your life will never be the same. Mine wasn't. You'll never see things the same. And little by little, as this begins to sink into all of you and displaces all of these old beliefs, there's a sense of equanimity that opens up, a sense of infinite patience, a sense of just the most amazing love and appreciation, unconditional love. The ugly becomes beautiful. The water becomes wine, good wine too, not the cheap stuff, the good wine, good wine. Fearlessness. I mean, you're aware of all of the stuff going on in the body, all the conditioning, all of the reactions, all of the natural stuff that happens as in human life. But none of it's intimidating. None of it overwhelms you. Nothing upsets you. I can't remember the last time I was upset. You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, you find little irritations in life, you know, when you're talking to the phone company and you've been transferred for the 18th time and you still haven't gotten to where you're supposed to go. Just kind of go, right? But yeah, you know, it's like my granddaughter, right? Emotions come, they just pass. They don't stick anywhere. There's no Velcro left. There's no glue. There's nothing holding on to it. And so they just pass. They arise, they pass. Which means you don't even have to stop them. You don't have to become this stoic thing. I'm not going to feel bad. I'm not going to have negative thoughts. I'm not going to. Who cares? Let them come. If they don't have any place to land, they're just going to fly by, right? If there's no Velcro, right? If you're totally Teflon, where are they going to stick? There's no place to stick. You can't stop them from coming. You can't stop life from happening. You know, the big mistake of all the metaphysical and manifestation approach is that somehow I'm going to make life be the way I want it to be, which is the height of egoism. The ego loves that, right? There's a much deeper meaning to metaphysics and manifestation and all that. I'm not going to go into it right now, but when that personal sense of me trying to stay safe, trying to be somebody, grabs a hold of something that looks powerful to it because it was born in an absence of power, then that's what you get. But none of it matters. I mean, what we're really looking for is happiness, and happiness is knowing who you are. If you know who you are, you're happy. Simple. The rest will take care of itself. I mean, everything you pursue in life is to be happy, right? Right? But if you're happy, then all those things you're pursuing can just fall away. And then amazing thing happens. Life becomes not about getting, but about giving. Because you have it all. I've got what I was seeking the entire time. So all of that stuff, don't really need it. Whatever I need will come. And now I'm not in this relationship because I need something from you. I'm there because I love you. I'm there because I want to hang out with you. I want to be with you. I want to enjoy you. I'm not dependent anymore. Right? You have complete, beautiful, loving, intimate relationships. Very physical, very human, very normal, right? Without that overhead on it. Just imagine a world like that. Just imagine. And it is possible. That's the potential of this inquiry that I'm inviting you to. Oh, welcome, Ireland. Hi, the ancestors. Oh, I really need to get to Ireland. Hello, Connor Riordan. Wonderful, wonderful. And question from That's All Folks. Why does ignorance exist? Okay. See if you can follow me now. I'm going to take this just completely within the inquiry. Go back to that place that is aware of the ignorance. Go back to that place that in that inquiry, right? Awareness is something you can articulate. You can say ignorance, you can describe it, right? Okay. So it's something appearing within consciousness, right? Something you, consciousness, are aware of. Now, it's not there all the time, is it? Sometimes it comes, sometimes it goes. Sometimes there's clarity and precision. Other times there's ignorance and just delusion, right? It's not there all the time. So it's just coming and going. But you, seeing it, don't come and go. You see it. But if you ask, why does ignorance exist? Then I would have to ask you, well, then why does wisdom exist? Right? Because wisdom comes and goes too. You see it, and then it's gone. You're clear one moment, and then you're totally confused the next. They kind of go back and forth on one another. Now, that which is aware of both ignorance and wisdom, is it ignorant or wise? Is it both? Is it neither? You see, there's a preference. I want to be wise, not ignorant. I want to be awake, not delusional, right? In genuine spiritual teachings, here in Zen Buddhism or in Advaita Vedanta, the ignorant and the wise, there's no difference. This is what is meant by nirvana. You see through what is only an appearance. Without ignorance, you would not know wisdom. Without ugly, you would not know beauty. And all of those can basically vanish into this place of pure awareness, which is neither wise nor ignorant, is neither ugly nor beautiful. It gives rise to the entire dualistic universe, but it itself is not dualistic. The consciousness that is hearing my words is neither wise nor ignorant. It just is. It is that which makes everything exist, because it is pure existence itself. So when you ask, why does it exist? So that you can see wisdom. Why does wisdom exist? Because so wisdom wouldn't exist were it not for ignorance. You see, the dualistic world isn't a mistake. The idea that nirvana is somehow, or heaven is, you finally get out of all the duality and all this stuff, and you're living in this pure non-dual nirvana. That's not true. It's very clear in the Heart Sutra that the Bodhisattva lives without the walls of the mind. That is, no conceptions whatsoever, and therefore without fear, and therefore goes beyond all attainment, including nirvana, beyond even the ultimate that you could possibly imagine. That's the Prajnaparamita mantra. Gate, gate, padagate, padasangate, bodhisvaha, which means gone, gone, gone beyond, gone completely beyond all opposites. You are beyond all opposites. That which is doesn't have and is not. It just is. There is no opposite to it. And yet it gives rise to everything. And if it didn't give rise to the dual, there would be no existence. There'd be no life. There would be no taste. You wouldn't be able to taste life. Tasting of the life, the sense of being someone, experiencing life, gives the flavor of life. Without that, there'd be no flavor. And so the one, this pure consciousness, experiences itself through many. But my job here is to always constantly turn you back to the place from which the question itself is arising. You are perceiving ignorance. Who's that? Who's perceiving it? And the one perceiving the ignorance, is it ignorant? Is it wise? Can you perceive it at all? There's a nice quietness. Sally Weber. Hello, Sally. Welcome. It's a nice, beautiful quietness that seems to have been, normally by this time I've got dozens of questions and I'm not getting as many, which I really like. So just go into this more deeply. Fall into this more deeply. Your mind, remember, and the mind is nothing other than habits of thought. That's all it is, okay? It's not a thing, right? It's not this, little box that's generating thoughts, my mind thought, oh, that's just my mind. No, it's just it's a word we use to designate just patterns of thought. That's all the ego is. It's just a pattern of thought around the single word I. That's all it is. And all of it is being perceived. So, but this habit is something we do have to understand, because consciousness has identified with those patterns of thought. And I think, oh, I am that. So when a thought rises, goes, I'm not happy, we believe that thought and we think that I is actually referring to you, the real you. And it's not. It's referring to an image it's holding of something that's not happy, something that hasn't gotten what it wants, something that thinks things should be differently. All of those are being perceived by you. So just becoming wise is discerning the mind and its illusions, which is all ignorance is. The idea that I'm not what I actually am, which is just an idea, right? So it's not, it itself just arose out of this emptiness, out of this pure consciousness. Consciousness didn't become ignorant. Consciousness just conceived the idea of ignorance, remaining exactly what it is the entire time. So ignorance is just another appearance. So as we're sinking more deeply in this, your mind's going to ask stuff. The habit that is mind is going to say, well, how is this helping me? What's this going to be? This feels uncomfortable. I'm not sure I like that. Stop for a second. Who is he referring to? Who is she referring to? That I. Who is it? Is it you, the perceiver of it? It couldn't be. If you're perceiving it, right? Right? If you can perceive it, there's some kind of distance to it, right? So what is it then? Well, it's just a thought. If I don't believe it, does it have any authority? If I believe it, it certainly does. If I say, oh, I'm really happy, so I have to go get this. If I get this, then I'm going to be happy. And that's how we live our lives, isn't it? That's how we've decided that everything works, right? So we do these programs, we learn how to do success things, we do stuff, and we have businesses, we do all sorts of stuff, all to get this happiness with the assumption that you're not it, that you don't have it. What if that's not true? What if that is just a thought? And that thought revolves around that thought of I. So sink into it more deeply. Just give yourself a break here. This is satsang. We are here to step out of life and to step into this place where we are, where we give ourselves permission to be completely separated from and aloof from all of the normal activities of mind, body, and your life. And just be present. Just be presence. And notice how effortless it is to just be. To be something, to be someone, to accomplish something, that takes an enormous amount of effort. What about to just be? That's all, folks. Okay, this is deep. Thank you. Don't know what else to say. Good. Stay right there in that place where you don't have anything else to say. Right? That is the place of real seeing. Don't worry. Your mind's going to make an issue of it. It's going to, whoa, what's wrong here? We're going to think. Believe me, this silence will completely take over the functioning of the mind until you are incredibly articulated, finding words to express it, to lead people to it. Eventually, the mind stops being a habit and it starts being a power of expression. But under the influence and persuasion of this beautiful, perfect silence, which is what you are. It's effortless. Connor says, I've wondered what thoughts are like or would be if language did not exist. That is an excellent question, and many believe that language and thought are inseparable. And I tend to go along with that. But But I take it one step further than that. And so did Buddhism. So did Buddha, by the way. The meaning behind the word. You know, every word I say to you has a particular meaning. And then I put them together in a certain way because I want it to convey a certain meaning to you. That meaning, I could be speaking French or Dutch or German. The meaning would be exactly the same. The words would be different to try to give the voice to the same thing. It's kind of like, you know, your favorite song could be sung a cappella by Pentatonics, you know, great little a cappella group, or it could be played on a guitar. It could be an instrumental, somebody on piano. It could be a jazz band. It could be rock and roll. Somebody could do a blues version of it, right? Same song, right? So what's the song? Well, yeah, there is a song there, right? And the meaning, the energy, the depth, the beauty of the song gets conveyed, and different aspects of the beauty of it get conveyed depending on how it's presented, how it's said. So meaning isn't dependent on thought. Meaning governs thought, but most of our thoughts are the objects of language. When we get wrapped up in the objects of language, the objects of thought is where we get lost. We forget that those are secondary. They came from experience, which is why the genuine non-dual inquiry is a constant bringing you back to what you're experiencing right here and right now. And what you're experiencing right here and right now is being. Without that being, me sitting here talking, I couldn't, first off. And secondly, you wouldn't be there to hear it. Existence is primary to everything. And yet we belittle it. We make it so small. We make it insignificant. Oh, yeah, of course. But what about this? Right? Not realizing the incredible significance of it, that ground, that place beyond which you can't go. That is the real source of the universe, not the Big Bang, not some mysterious or elegant, complex interaction of matter to give rise to consciousness. An emergent property is the term that they use. Right? But see if you can go any further than that sense of being. See if you can find an end to it. See if you can find a boundary to it. See if you can find a birth of it, an origin, or a death to it, an end. Now, this is just what you're looking at. You're looking at this. You're seeing this, but not as an object. Are you looking at it out there somewhere? What eyes are seeing this? Is this any distance from you? I mean, is it out there somewhere? Then this place right here, this is it. This is where the buck stops. This is the ultimate. This is the nirvana people have been searching for. This is the awakening. This is it. This is the self. This is yourself. No thoughts, beyond emotions, beyond ideas, beyond concepts. Because you see every idea, every concept, every thought is perceived by this, by you. You're the one perceiving. So when you're exploring the boundaries of this, you're exploring the boundaries of you. Have you ever been born? Really? Did you have a origin point? Suddenly you weren't and then you were. And how would you know? can it have any end? Now, for most, even just pondering this for a minute will immediately begin, some emotional stuff will begin to take place. Okay, it's okay. It's all being experienced. That's all you have to consider. Yes, I'm experiencing that, but that doesn't change what I am. I don't have to make this change in order for me to be what I am. And what I am is that completely infinite, unchanged, unchanging self. So a thought comes up. So what? An entire world appears. So what? Great. Interesting. Tastes good. Hello, Cardell. Dell, my mountain friend. And Roni Brokaw. Hello, Roni. Welcome. Johanna Labidi. I feel like I am waiting for some shift in my consciousness. Is that right? If so, how does that finally happen? This is really good. You're right on the cusp here, Johanna, because that's the nature of the most spiritual stuff. But if there was a shift that took place in consciousness, who would be aware of it shifting? You say, I feel like I am waiting for a shift in my consciousness. What you're looking for is a shift in perception, a shift in all that stuff. Don't worry about that. That will happen, right? But first, just see this. Because if a shift took place, something more fundamental, more subtle, and prior to that shift would have to notice that it changed, which meant it was there before it saw it happen, and it'll be there after it. So are you that shift in consciousness? Are you even more fundamental than that? This is not a shift in perception or thought patterns or emotional reactions. This is that which is aware of all of it, which doesn't have to have a shift in anything ever. Are you following that, Johanna? You're the one witnessing shifts. Does the one witnessing shift ever shift? Does it need to? Could a shift happen without it? Hey, Del. Del just said, hey, GP. Good to see you, my friend. Oh, Kai is joining us too. This is deep, as somebody said a few moments ago. Okay, this is deep. Yes, it is. Right? But don't turn it in, oh, this is deep and that shallow. No, we're talking about you. Right? I mean, it's deep, but you're already there. You're in the depths. It seems deep to the mind because we're sorting through all sorts of stuff that we just assumed to be true, and we find out it isn't. So this depth you're referring to, it's neither deep nor shallow. It's everything. You're everything. The self is everything. So the experience of it, because it's so still, it's so quiet, you can feel the effect that this has on the entire system. And so the word we come up with is deep. And I use that word all the time, but is the experience itself deep? Or is it just so damn ordinary that it's like, what in the world? I mean, it's just you. It's just you recognizing yourself, seeing yourself, but not as an object. And hello, Anne says, deep and peaceful. Yeah. Still, utterly still. Even the word peace, kind of just, well, yeah, it's just this stillness, unmoving, unmoved. But it's not even a thing. I mean, when we no longer identify with just this body, then there's no thing there at all. There's just consciousness, formless. And why identify with the body? I mean, in the time I've been talking to you, literally tens of millions, hundreds of millions of cells in this body you're looking at have died, and new ones have replaced it. And as they do, they change the way they look. This isn't the face I had 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Certainly not the one I was born with, or mom would have abandoned me sooner. So this body's constantly changing. So why would you put your sense of identity on something that never stops changing? But something notices that it's changing. May dreams be intuitions? Yes. Don't assume they are. This is from Sylvie. I think she's the one in France. Yes, they can be. I mean, the waking state and the dream state and the dreamless state are all states perceived by consciousness, and they have equal opportunity to give expression to truth. They also have equal opportunity to give expression to falsity, which is nothing other than all falsity comes down to I am the body. I am not this consciousness. I'm a body in a world, and consciousness is a function of this body. That is the belief. All of which is being perceived by consciousness. So when you understand who you are, when that sense that, oh, I'm the conscious awareness, I'm not what I'm aware of, then the waking state, dreams, the most mundane circumstances water can turn to wine. The most everyday stuff can become absolutely amazing. A conversation with somebody in the grocery store can suddenly enlighten you, can bring just enormous light and insight. A sound happening. And it can also happen in a dream, which is really just a different mode of experience with a different set of physics. Right? We're just so convinced that this one is real and solid and material, that one must be just a dream. But this doesn't exist in your dreams, and the dreams seem just as real. What? Maybe they are. They are, in fact, just as real. They are not reality, but they are just as real as the waking dream. And so, yes, you can get intuitions from there, but an intuition can appear, but if there's nothing to recognize it as intuition, is it an intuition or just a thought passing by? Remember, intuition is always when consciousness, you recognize yourself in what you're experiencing. When something strikes you and you know it's true, you say it's an intuition. What happened? You recognized yourself. The truth saw itself in a mirror and knew itself. The real you recognized its own being expressed. And the deeper this goes, the more often that happens, until it always happens. Because everything is that. Even the things that seem horrendous to our human sense, that seem to be pushing us to the verge of destruction, are that. Judy says, awesomeness. Thank you, Judy. Now I know this is not what you normally hear in spiritual circles. I don't have any issue with that. I practice a lot of different things because I'm very interested in how to teach it, how to reach every different state of mind and consciousness I possibly can, how to know the words and vernacular and the content of the dreams of anyone that I might be able to pierce with a little bit of light. Plus also just the personal ongoing need to reprogram all of this machine that I mistook for myself one time, to make it an increasingly more powerful and useful and beautiful instrument through which truth can express itself. You know, I see this as part of the process of becoming, of like taking a broken down Steinway grand piano, concert grand piano, beautiful, 9-foot, you know, most beautiful piano in the world. It's all broken down, so you can't play it. And putting it back together so that it can become the amazing vehicle of expression that it was intended to be. That's what we're doing. Right? So to become aware of this doesn't mean all of a sudden you're, you know, heavens part and angels sing and you're walking on water. What it means is that you see clearly that what you mistook yourself to be wasn't actually you, just programming of a system. It was just the way the energy happens to be forming for life. And now, no longer imprisoned by it, you become the benefactor to it. You begin to reach in, and this energy begins to permeate the whole system. It doesn't matter how enlightened you are. Even the Buddha died from dysentery or poisoning or something like that. I mean, there's no, you know, as long as there's a body and a mind, this functioning is going on. You're just not fooled by it anymore. You're just not believing it anymore, which means that it can become increasingly harmonious. The energies of fears and desires and all of that stuff, they just dissipate because they become irrelevant. They're not important. They don't really need to offer anything. And what gets put in its place in this most beautiful flexibility, you'll become more articulate. You become less shy, right? You'll become perceptive. You'll be able to read people because you know the energy. You know life because you know you. Because now you're no longer looking through those colored glasses or those smudged glasses. When you say, this is what it is because you're really seeing it. Jim Wilkins, hello, Jim. Good to see you. Because you're really seeing it. So when I say to you, or I say, I really like that. And I say, well, who's the I? You can tell me. You know exactly who it is. And you're not attached to liking it or disliking it. It's there for a moment, you know. I like it now, I don't like it later. Those kind of things can come and go, and they make no interference whatsoever. Nerd in Paradise, Cyrus, my buddy Cyrus. Hi, Cyrus, in Utah. I experienced panic attacks through the week. My awareness of them meant that those things too shall pass, but it really sucked going through. There's a question I want to ask, but I can't find the words. Right. Okay. Look at it closely. There's the experience. There's the feeling of fear and the body wanting to react to something. It doesn't know what it is it's reacting to. It doesn't know what it's afraid of. It can't identify it. And so it escalates into what we call a panic. Right? That's what panic is. Right? It's, I want to fight or flee, and I can't. So, you know, all this energy is now spinning like crazy. Right? Now, the awareness you're talking about is, you know that it's going to pass. You've been doing this enough now that you know that it isn't an absolute, right? But now take another step back. Where you say, it really sucked going through. Who said it really sucked going through? Isn't that just another thought? Isn't that just another thought about the experience? Go to the experience. Go directly to the experience. Don't even call it panic. Just feel it in the body. Feel what's going on. Even forget my explanation of fight and flight. Forget all of that. Forget you knew any of that. Right? Like you're a child or a cat. And just feel that. No labels, no nothing, no story. No attempt to get out of it. Just feel it. And give it complete permission to run through the system. And watch what happens. Just notice everything, there's an experience of something, and then there's the naming of the experience, and then stories about the experience. If I can get you back to the experience, it will end suffering, because all the suffering's in the story. None of the suffering is in experience. Are you following that? Animals don't suffer. They feel pain, they feel fear, they feel tense, they feel that stuff, but they don't suffer because there's no story. They are 100% present. And you can watch when it happens. You can even watch films of when an animal, a gazelle is caught by the tiger, right? And you can see them struggling to get away, and there's a point at which they just surrender totally, and they just relax. All the suffering's gone. And they're eaten, they're gone, they're on to their next adventure. But the suffering's all gone. The suffering is in the story. There's no suffering in life. Papinu, is it possible to be in tapping mode throughout the day without sitting in tapping? Yeah. There's kind of an advanced way you can approach the energy techniques that I and others teach about that. What you're doing is, whenever you're using anything like this, or this, even in an inquiry like this, is all of that on spades, right? Because all the tapping does, all of that stuff is to communicate safety. As long as you are communicating safety, you are in tapping mode, if you want to use that term, because that's it. And what we're doing here now is getting you down to this place where you can see the place from which you're seeing it and realize you've never left safety. And that truth, that powerful underpinning that you've never left safety, will begin to permeate this entire system until it no longer fears for its life. It's perfectly willing to be dissolved because it doesn't have a sense. The sense of this being trying to maintain itself is gone. There's just you. You and me are one and the same. It's not like you're all alone. Oh, it's like everything is you around you, and everything is me around you. This is the one consciousness perceiving itself. So the more you can bring your attention back here, and the you I'm talking to is consciousness. The more consciousness, which is what you are, remembers who it is and brings the attention back to the place from which things are being seen rather than what is being seen, the deeper that sense of the safety becomes eternal, because you're immortal. There's no beginning or end to you. It all comes back home again. Remember the quote from St. Francis of Assisi: what you are looking for is where you are looking from. If your attention always comes back to the place of looking, you will find everything that you are looking for. Because every last bit of it is there. Not as things, but as the essential energy out of which all things arise. You following me? Are you getting this? You in the back? Pretending it's a real room with people in it. That's what satsang means. Communion with the truth. Doesn't mean me. This truth I'm pointing you at, this sense of your being, this is satsang. To be communing with that, you're in satsang. You can do that all day long. In fact, I urge you to. I urge you to be there all day long. Even if this just seems like, feel with your heart. You can feel the truth of it. You could feel the authenticity of it. It's a no-brainer. Of course it's this way. Now, you can't arise at that. You can't arrive at that through intellectual stuff, because the mind will put things together and, therefore, I'm safe, I'm good, this must be it. And then you can feel it isn't. It's empty, it's weak, it doesn't have it. doesn't have the stuff behind it. Right? But just that feeling, which is not even a feeling, just pure presence. Feels like the real thing. And you didn't have to arrive at it. You didn't have to learn it. You didn't need an elaborate practice that went on for 30 years to get it. It's just you. How does one remain safe in a safe mindset in an unsafe world? That's exactly what I'm showing you. You cannot get into a safe mindset. The mind cannot know safety. The mind assumes the absence of safety and creates scenarios that it hopes might create safety. So there's no such thing as a safe mindset. Safety is only knowing who you are. Knowing this sense of presence as being your actual being is the only real source of safety. Everything else will fail you. Everything else will come and go because it's conditional. But that which is watching everything come and go is not conditional. And since it's watching everything come and go, even a sense of safety or a sense of threat, it remains completely beyond the reach of all of it. It being you. All I'm trying to do is get the sense of I, that you are habitually identifying with what you're perceiving, to start identifying with the one who's perceiving it. To see yourself as the one seeing and not as what is seen. Is this sinking in, folks? I have to say, I'm very happy to have been able to go this deep today. I didn't start with that in mind, as you all saw from the title, which now bears almost no resemblance to what we did, but just a spontaneous satsang. This was a real satsang. Sometimes it's just questions and answers, and you're helping people with domestic problems and stuff. This was a real satsang. The more of I can do of this, the better. It's not always possible. I just respond to whatever the energy is of who's ever coming. But this is the answer to all your questions. They all come back to this. All the questions arise out of being somebody other than you're not. Papinu says, seems elusive, right? To whom does it seem elusive, Papinu? Notice that you're perceiving the elusive. And you're looking for some kind of quality you can hold on to and say, that's me. You're never going to find it. There is no quality that says that's you. Every quality is defined in terms of another quality, right? It's finite in nature. The one perceiving the quality is infinite in nature. And that finite quality is but a glimpse, an aspect, tiny reflection, little glint from the sunlight of this infinite attributeless, which gives rise to all attributes. So folks says energy is real good this time. Yes, the closer we get to the true self, the more true you feel, the more you feel like yourself. This is what it feels like to be yourself. Really, eat it up. This is what it feels like to be you. This isn't an altered state. This is not some hypnotic thing I did to you, right? This is not trance I put you into. This is not an advanced state. This is not some altered consciousness. This is not super duper consciousness, right? This is not an out-of-body experience. You are experiencing yourself as you really are. And that is that peace. That's that quiet, that effortless, pure being. What you really are. This is your natural state. It's not a mindset. It's not a state of mind. It's not an acquisition. It's simply the recognition of you as you are. Please take that in. Papinu says, so I should be pure observer. Yes, recognize that you are pure observing. Notice that it's going on all the time, and you'll lose the struggle of trying to be the observer. Even the struggle to be the observer is being observed, isn't it? Notice it and have the chuckle. Nerdin Cyrus said, thank you for taking up my concern. You're very, very welcome. I'm getting some namastes from people on Facebook, and a nice big yes from Chrissy in New Zealand. Now, as you go back to your day, the world will tend to, the world, that is, all your beliefs about the world and yourself will all seem to come back. May even forget, become completely confused. What did she say? Oh my God. Oh geez. God, I felt it. Now it was gone. Just smile and notice, I felt it and now it was gone, is being perceived by that which can never leave. Even the trickiest little things of the mind, of the ego, to say, look, you lost it. You were right there. You're almost there. We need some more practice. We need some more stuff. Right? Notice that all of that is appearing in front of the perceiving that you are. No matter how intense it might feel, no matter how well dressed it may appear, how well reasoned, how many degrees it has when it tells you, it's being perceived by you. Have you ever, can you ever leave that place of pure perception? Connor says, non-duality. Here realize that I truly know nothing, and anyone says they know may believe they know, but in reality they do not, right? Because you can't know it, right? I mean, knowing takes on a completely new meaning. In the Hindu, in Sanskrit, they call it jnana, which is this transcendent knowledge that is actually wisdom, where being and knowing become one. I don't know because I have thoughts about me. I know me because I am me. It's the most intimate, it's beyond intimate because it's one. Being and knowing are one and the same. So when somebody says they know and then they don't know. You're absolutely right. That knowledge is only of what's perceived. There is no knowledge except self-knowledge of that which is perceiving. Bupinu says, okay, then she says, you read my mind. Yes, good. Yeah. It seems that pure observer, nothing seems to get solved. Yes, that's because your attention keeps going back and saying, I want a solution, which means you keep giving life to this idea that you are somehow less than that. And that somehow you've got to fix something in your life, and that then you'll be okay. And I keep pointing back you to the you that doesn't need to fix anything, which is already okay, eternally so. Which means all of those fix-it things can go out the window. You're not broken. Chrissy says, it's so funny, really. Yes, it is. It is. It's the one place your mind can't go. The mind has to have two things to compare and contrast and make thoughts. That's knowledge. What is knowledge but the description of one thing in terms of something else? I can hold you this and go, well, it's a star, right? It's like a star and it's red, right? Well, not blue and red. It's all comparison, analysis, comparison, description. That's all the mind can do. Take away all objects and just be the being that is imperceivable. How does it describe you? It can't. How does it know you? It can't. How does it find you? It can't. All of our practices, ultimately, all of our practices fail. It's one thing I love about the Heart Sutra, which I even did a whole thing on in the that is me. Then I will be okay. Then you are okay. Yes, my love. Yes, 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 yes. I did a whole hour just on the Heart Sutra and level 3 of inner reconciliation. It's the most miraculous document of all time, because in that the Buddha takes apart Avalokiteshvara, completely dismantles all the Buddha's teachings, all the things that are sacred, all the dharmas, the three treasures, all of it completely dismantled. Because if you are already this, you don't need to meditate, you don't need any process, you don't need anything except the recognition that this is you. That's why it's called the direct path. That's why Vedanta, the word Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, Vedanta means the end of knowledge. And the word Advaita means not to. Think about that. It is the end of knowledge. The ultimate of knowledge, which is I am. Do you need anybody to tell you that you are? So you being and your awareness of being are the same. They are not two. Advaita Vedanta. Get it? I am so happy. I am so happy this went this way. Maybe I should just keep doing it this way. Because folk, the mind, people, maybe even a lot of teachers, let's say, oh, this is really hard and difficult. You're going to really have to. Is it hard to be? Really? It's hard to smile? I mean, think about it. Hard. Who said it was hard? Now, if I believe it to be hard, I'm going to suddenly be thinking it's hard, and it's hard. I'm going to immediately create this thing out there, this enlightenment or nirvana or heaven that I'm seeking, right? Who's seeking it? How could you get any closer than the one that's seeking it? Right? If the one seeking it is what's being sought, it's over. The seeking is over. The search is over. Chris Wilkins is watching. Hey, Chris. very good to have you. There's no seeking, because you're the one seeking, and what you're looking for is you. Oh, I found me. Oh, it's over. Now your mind's going to be, yeah, well, now what? Don't worry about it. I mean, really, do you know what your next thought's going to be? Right? This idea that somehow we can control our future, that we're going to get everything lined up, and we're going to master cause and effect, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to visualize that, and I'm going to do these processes here, and then this is going to happen. Really? I mean, look closely. Is that really what's going on? Or is there something completely outside of the control of the mind that is just unfolding life as it unfolds? Look for yourself. And who is it all unfolding to? Even life appears to you. Think about that for a minute. You are even more than life. Life draws its existence from this. There's nothing beyond it. It is the one I am. How's everybody doing? Did the questions that you had before begin to just kind of settle down? They kind of got subsumed into this deeper place of seeing? If not, don't worry, they will. This is your destiny. To come home to who you've always been is your ultimate destiny. This is what it's meant by returning to the Father in Christianity. That is what is meant by nirvana in Buddhism. It's paradise in Islam. You're simply coming back to who you have always been, which is way more than this body, this person, this conditioning, these habits, everything that's going on in the world, way more than any thought you've ever had about yourself. Well, on that note, if there's no more questions, I will begin to kind of draw it to a close here. Thank you all so very, very much for being here. Thank you for willing to go here with me. Thank you for being willing to do this. Not everybody does, right? The reason I do these satsangs is it's because it's the one time this is where I want it to happen, right? I do it in my training in inner reconciliation. The further on you go with inner reconciliation, the more you'll be hearing this in the most practical way to be able to become masters of your life, right? And not because it's observing is not inactive. Please understand this. You're coming to this point of observing where you're really letting go of control and all of this stuff that you normally did. And you're not just going to sit there and watch things happen, but interaction with it is completely different. It is not something you're making happen. The observing itself you find to be the power that transforms lives. It's not an act of will. It's not an act of cleverness or thought or planning or process. Presence itself is the power that brings about the transformation of a world. Papino says, narrow is the way, yes, and few there be that find it. Thanks for another amazing satsang. Judy, love you. I love you too. Thank you. Thanks, GP. Thank you. That's all, folks. I really like to know what your name is. That's so good. Cyrus, my mind wants to keep spinning. Well, LOL, I'm just letting it do it without getting, yes, that's it. Just watch it spin. And just really get a big smile on your face that you can watch it. You know, it's like a little kid having a tantrum. It's like, are you done? Anne says, thank you. Narrow is the way, yes. Gorabmat Agat GP. Oh, spoke to me in Gaelic. Thank you, Connor. I don't know what that means. Oh, but maybe that's, thank you, GP. That's so, wow, that's so beautiful. I wish I could pronounce it. Oh, how can I get my citizenship in Ireland? I want to. My heart, your heart, our heart, this heart. Chrissy, yes, Chrissy. It is so beautiful to see you blossoming. Papino, observing the spark. Yeah. And the spark is observing itself. Roll, thank you. Wow. And Stuart, namaste, GP. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. Those of you who joined late, this will be available shortly afterwards as a replay on both YouTube and Facebook. I'll be sharing it in a variety of places. So, thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you. Okay. Until next time, folks, guys.